Um,
Okay, so we are live.
Yay.
Yay! Welcome to 52 Weeks of Hope. We have Jennie O'Connor here talking about how to remove all your self-doubt, and you get to learn how to hone your skills and align with your dreams. Jennie, you want to, and she's on right now, she's episode 105. Jennie, you want to talk about who you are and who you serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So I describe myself as a squirrel-brained entrepreneur, and that is exactly who I serve. Essentially, anyone with too many ideas and the desire potentially to monetize all of those, I can help you zero in on the one that you should monetize. And usually it's only one, or it's definitely only one for right now. Maybe you can layer on some later on, and I also teach people how to do that as well. But find that one idea that has the potential to be your $1 million idea and help you execute on it in a very short period of time with like doable, manageable action steps.
Yeah, which is so great. And I also love how you talk about how you parse your time out during the week. I just found that fascinating that you've tried all these different ways to organize your time. And you want to just talk about that really quick.
Yeah, so I call it my 5 priorities method, but I do caveat that with different people, depending upon what their commitments are, may not have 5. In fact, if you work full time and manage a household and are trying to start a side hustle and make that your main gig, you should probably really only have one, and it's the side hustle that's going to be your main gig. But ideally, what I think we all really hope to get to is having the time freedom to pursue more than one passion at a time. So for me, I have sort of narrowed that down to like my 5 core things. And then I take like a pie chart and I basically assign, so let's say a 40-hour work week, I assign a percentage of that 40 hours to each of those 5 priorities. And I really sit with what, like, the money making piece that gets more hours out of the week because I need to make money naturally. The novel writing piece, that's a smaller slice of pie, but it's still significant because that's the thing that if I go to my deathbed without doing, I will feel regret about. So that's still 10 hours out of my 40-hour pie chart. And then within that structure, so giving myself like a goal, I can devote roughly 10 hours to this project this week. Within that structure, I can do it whenever I want, whenever I'm most inspired, for example. So it's a structure that has freedom inside of the structure.
Okay. So I was talking, and we talked about, I think, on the episode. So Jennie's on episode 105,
Yep.
and it's such a good episode. I got a text today from somebody who's lying on the beach in Hawaii on vacation right now, who loved the episode. She loved listening to you. She loved everything about it.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah, so and I love getting those texts. So thank you so much. And now I forgot. Oh, so I think we talked about this retreat, this workshop where Anne Lamont and Juliet Cameron and Sark are all, like, 3 of the most amazing people are all coming. They've never all done a workshop together. I did not know that. So I just interviewed Jacob, who is bringing them all together at this retreat. And anyway, so I heard Anne Lamont talk about it today, this morning. And it's one of the questions she was asked was, what if you don't feel like you're a writer or this, that? And she said, if you're writing, you're a writer. And it's so simple. And that's it. So whatever it is you want to manifest, like, you get to do that and you get to call yourself whatever you are. And it brought me to the whole imposter syndrome. Like, you and I both, we have podcasts, and it's like, I just started a podcast, and so I'm a podcaster. So it doesn't mean somebody has to read your writing or watch you dance or whatever it is you want to do, you get to do it. So how do you help people hone in when they have something they know that they want to do and all the imposter syndrome comes out, or they're just afraid to take that action? What would you tell them? Because you can't work with everybody as much as you want to help everybody.
Right. Yeah. So it's sort of two questions. So I'll attempt to answer.
Yes, it is. Of course it is.
The first one, the honing in piece, and we did talk about this in our episode.
Yes. Yep.
Everyone who comes to me is overwhelmed, usually by shiny objects. So I start with, this is like the default. This is such an easy way to immediately like breathe easier again, is to brain dump everything that is competing for your attention. Like, oh my gosh, I have to make a doctor's appointment and I have to do this, and brain dump all of the things. And this means all of the passions that you might have, that you're mildly curious about, that you want to do once, that you want to do 100 times, run the gamut, make the list exhaustive. And when you're done, you're going to be like, because you'll find it's not as long as you expected it to be. I think that's part of the pressure that we feel, is that like, I want to do 1,000,000 things. That is not in fact true. You want to do like 27 things, which is still a lot, but that right away you see how that's just kind of like, okay, it's not as bad as I expected. And then I take people through, and you can absolutely do this on your own, but if you need help, this is where I come in. I take people through a process of starting with your core values and really getting clear on what those are, because I think we talk about it and we conceptualize what values are, but really knowing what they are for us takes a little bit of investigative work. And the reason I feel like this is an important step is because a lot of times multi-passionate people will pick a thing and like charge down that road. Like, this is my be all end all, and then realize it's not their jam anymore, and then feel guilty about changing their mind. So if you align what you choose to do for the rest of your life or the next 2 years, whatever that time frame is going to be for you, if you choose it based on your core values, you're less likely to pick something you're going to find boring in 6 months. So core values, then filter that list that's gotten smaller, because now you're only choosing the things that are related to your highest core values. Then put that through the filter of what your talents and superpowers are. What are your soft assets? What are the things that people ask you for help with? So filter the list down a little bit further by figuring that out. And then the last piece is the market research. Be aware, get in conversations with people who you think might be your ideal client, and see what it is that they really need. Because when you can find the sweet spot between your core values, your superpowers, and what the market wants, you got $1 million idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I love the way you help people hone into also, this can make money too. Lots of money.
Yeah. And that market research piece, I find a lot of people out there aren't teaching. And that's what's really missing from like the coaching world is really getting clear. Like, we all have an idea, like everybody wants this thing, but that's not always the case. Or they do want the thing, but you're not explaining it in the words that they use to describe their own problems. And that becomes the disconnect. As soon as you can use the words they use to describe themselves, they're like, oh my God, she's in my head. And then you're making money. So that was the first piece of that question. The second piece is the imposter syndrome piece. And I have so many modalities that I love to use for this. Like, one is befriending your inner critic. It's understanding that your inner critic really exists to protect you. And back in the days when saber-toothed tigers were a thing, that like protection mechanism really did serve us. It just doesn't serve us anymore. But if you can see your inner critic as an ally rather than having an antagonistic relationship with it, it's trying to protect you. And I sometimes will have people make a list of all of the ways that their inner critic is doing its job so well, so that you can actually say to your inner critic, thank you. When you told me this, you were doing your job so well, but now you don't get to be in charge. I'm in charge. I'm driving. You can sit in the back seat and be quiet. You're allowed to be here, but those are the agreements like that we're setting. Those are the boundaries. So that it's a different approach, because I think otherwise we're sort of in this standoff, in this antagonistic relationship with the inner critic. And I like kind of befriending it and being like, okay, now you be quiet. So I love that.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course. I get I get a lot of imposter syndrome before an interview, or I used to. The more you do it, I feel like the easier it gets. But one of my favorite things to do is to turn on. I have a happiness playlist in Spotify that is like the music that if someone is in conversation with me and this song comes on, I will start singing it. I can't help it. I know you're talking, but like I'm carried away by the music. I have an entire playlist of those songs and I will turn it on for the 10 minutes right before the interview starts and like dance like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
The endorphins, like something about that, you will come out of that exercise and be like, oh, I am powerful.
Okay, what's on your playlist?
Oh,
you should post it.
I will. I'll share a link. Absolutely. What, Good Life by One Republic. There's a song called Mr. E's Beautiful Blues by the Eels. And the chorus is goddamn right. It's a beautiful day. And just to name a few. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. You should definitely post your playlist on that. So
I will. I'd love to.
Yay. Yeah. So what's the question you're most often asked when you tell people that about your coaching and about your program and that you can help people do this in 6 weeks, that hone in and become a moneymaker doing what it is you're.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, it really always comes down to dealing with overwhelm. And so like, can you help me get to a place where I can actually do more than one thing and not feel like I'm completely freaking out? And the answer is yes. There's a whole way to approach your own time management system intentionally that will absolutely make that overwhelm go away. You have to say no to more things, but you can steal back like an extra 20 hours a month if you are deliberate about and if you leave white space in your calendar. Like there's just so many fun little modalities that I get to introduce people to that prove that yes, you can in fact do it all in a way that feels expansive and peaceful and zen.
Okay, see, and I've been quoting you when I was interviewed the last a couple of times, where you quote Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh yeah,
saying a lot of this is also saying no to the things that you want to do to create space. But what you were just saying, give some examples of how you get to create white space and create time.
Yeah, sure. People hear all the time, like, I need to say no more. And that's become a little bit of a buzz phrase in self-development circles. And that point that Elizabeth Gilbert makes that I was referencing is that we all assume that means say no to things we don't want to do anyway, but we feel like we should do, like, volunteer for the bake sale, even though you're absolutely slammed or in the middle of a launch or all of those things. But what she says is, you really need to say no to things that you actually do want to do.
Right.
Because the thing you most want to do doesn't get any white space if you say yes to those other things. So that white space idea, I like having completely empty space on your calendar every week, but I also like the notion of scheduling time for that thing that brings you joy, that you're inclined to put at the bottom of your list because maybe it isn't something you monetize, like the novel for me. I need it in my soul, but it goes on the bottom of my to-do list far too many days because of the fact that I'm also running a business. So I have to do that, or I have to produce the podcast. It has to get out by Thursday.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So it's like I put my meditation time on my calendar. That's just... Yes. Or some people put, I don't know. I've started putting, I need time with my friends. Like I have to put on my calendar, even though it might be in the evening or whatever, because if I don't put it, I mean, of course you have to put on your calendar anyway, but I have to actually schedule, even if I don't have something, friend, even though there's nothing there yet, but I need that.
100%. Yeah. I even at the beginning of my year plan, like I put a vacation, just a hole. I don't even know where I'm going yet, but I need to know, I need to have that to look forward to. And I need to know that I am not, especially as a multi-passionate, filling every free moment of space. That's the only way to create something that feels
that's so true. Like I was like, I want to go to Hawaii twice a year, so stick it on my calendar. And
yeah, and it works.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I mean, whatever you want to manifest, put it on your calendar. You'll manifest it. You just will. It could be 2 years from now. Like how big you want your life to be. Like, what do you want? You want for you the book? Well, when do you want to publish it? Put it on your calendar. It could be 2 years from now. It could be 5. Who cares? You put it on the calendar and then work back. I mean, that's what I was taught. So, and I'm a big believer in that. So, do you do affirmations? Do you do anything like that?
I do. Like I said in our interview, a lot of the modalities that I use sort of fade in and out. And it's kind of funny when I think about it. People are like, what's your morning routine like? And I'm all, well, I have so many items on my morning routine that if I did them every day, I would do literally nothing else. So I sort of have like 10 things that I would love in a perfect world to do every day. But if I do like these 4 days a week and these twice a week and these once a week at least, you know what I mean? And so it's this sort of malleable. I do use affirmations, but did I use any today? No. I have meditation's been on my mind since we spoke, but I've been doing breath work instead and kind of using that as my daily meditation. So there's always, meditation. I am a work in progress.
Yeah, no, that counts. Breath work counts.
Sure.
Totally. Oh, yeah. So what do you do when the negative talk starts in your head? What do you do for that to quiet your negative self-talk?
I use my go-to method is my accomplishments board that also mentioned in the episode. It is my favorite. If you don't know what I'm referring to, this is going to be a game changer for you. It is like a vision board, except instead of all the things that you don't yet have, it is everything you have ever done that makes you proud. So everything, it like thank you letters from people. Like I have a piece of a welcome home banner that my stepdaughter made for me. Like all of those things go in one spot. If you're not a collager and you don't like the idea of sitting down and making actual art, make a list. Just write down the list of reasons you're a badass. And I swear that is another thing you can pull out 10 minutes before an interview. And when you are done reading that, you will be like, yeah, I am at a minimum, I am so interesting. And there's more than that. I'm also very accomplished. I've done a million different things, but at a minimum, I am so interesting.
Yeah, which I don't remember the order, but I know we talked about this because that instantly brings to mind that the only comparison that I do is me to where I've come from. And that is it. And in fact, that's in my weekly email, the compare and despair. That just went out. Like any kind of compare, you can't win unless you only compare yourself to where you've come from, because that's where the growth is. That's where all the growth is. I was taught to compare my insides to your outsides. I will always fall short in some, because you never know what's going on with anybody else anyway. And I, in fact, started my email with, there was this one mom who clearly had it all. And I wanted every bit of her life, everything. There's no part of her life I did not want. And then her life imploded completely. And, it was a number of years later, but I was like, and one more time, I'm reminded that you do not know what's going on with anyone ever. And
literally the topic of my episode this week, everybody is faking it. So yes.
Yeah, I know that was such a good that's such a good title. Yeah. And they say that if everyone put their problems in the middle of, we're all in a circle, everybody put their own problems in the middle, everyone would take their own problems back. And when I first heard that, I thought, not me. I want anybody else's life but me. Like, I would take yours, I would take anyone's. But now I understand. It's been enough years since I first heard that I get it. And when that person's life I mean, seriously, like there wasn't one part of her life I did not want. And I get it. So you do not know. And so the only comparison allowed is me to where I've come from. And that is it. I don't think I had any growth when I like first heard that, but whatever. I've had enough now.
I think that's such it's so smart and exactly what we all need to remember. My best friend is a golfer, and that's why he likes golf, because the only person you play against is your last best score. So he's like, there are people who go out there who are competitive and they're mad because like I'm doing better or I'm not doing better or whatever, but the only person I'm playing against is me. And I remember when you said that, I was like, oh, you're so wise.
Yeah. I think there's people that compete against each other.
But it does all of us a service to remember the only one that matters is an older version of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Jennie's episode is episode 105. It's so good. It's uplifting and it's chock full of like such amazing advice. And all of her links, of course, are on the website at 52weeksofhope.com. Anything else that you want to throw in just to help anyone who's listening just align with their best life?
Yeah, I just to piggyback off of that, everybody is faking it thing. There's so much going on behind the surface that we don't see. And so often people are showing up and putting on their game face because that's what we're taught to do. That's impressive as hell, by the way, and super heroic when you feel like falling apart on the inside. But all that means for you, and when I say everybody's doing that, I mean like big name people who we all are familiar with are like falling apart behind the scenes. It's permission for all of us to be human, to be messy, to not have it all figured out. And sometimes, like this week, I needed to hear that message, which is why I created a podcast episode about it. So if anyone out there listening right now needs to hear that message, nobody has it figured out. Everybody is faking it. Just go be human and do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other. That was the other part of my email for this week was, do you congratulate yourself for just breathing in and out or for doing like the smallest things? Like give yourself a break, give yourself some grace. And do you take that moment to just say, give yourself a big hug and like, you're killing it. You're
killing it. You showed up. That's all that matters.
Right. I mean, it really, for some of the smallest stuff, we don't even take a second to go, wow, I survived this week.
Great reminder. I love it.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for going live. For anybody watching the replay, thanks for watching it. And just let us know if there's anything else that you'd like to hear from us. Be sure to follow Jennie and to give us a good review and hit follow.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jennie.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.